I remember many years ago in 1982, when I was in the 6th grade, an experience of God moving something in my heart during Mass when I was an altar server. I can remember that moment so well. St. John of God in Somerset. The building was only about 4 years old. It was a Saturday afternoon Mass in the winter. It's pretty dark outside. The priest was a very young Father Salvador, who still helps out in retirement here at St. Mary's. In those days, we had about 5 or 6 altar servers at each Mass, and I remember exactly where I was sitting on the side of the altar close to the folk group. The guitars were strumming and all these people were singing, and communion was being distributed. From the altar in this very modern-looking church, I remember looking out the front glass doors and seeing the lights on the sidewalk of the church. I was thinking to myself, well, it's communion time. We're almost out of here. It's time to go home and play Pac-Man on my Atari. And then there was a moment that the words to the song hit an 11-year-old with power. Could it have been a spiritual awakening at 11 years old? I'm not sure why I was so attentive to the words of that song, other than God poking my heart and speaking directly to me, and probably nobody else. At least that's the way that it felt at that time, and it still feels like that now. The words, I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry. All who dwell in dark and sin, my hand will save. I, who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright. And then there was a question. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? And then the answer. Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. It was at that moment that I realized that Jesus invites us to something. I realized what church and liturgy and Jesus was all about and how it all connected. I was already mesmerized by the fact that God was at work somehow feeding all these people in those days when churches were packed to the walls, and that somehow, as an 11-year-old, I was somehow on the periphery making that all happen, being part of the liturgy as an altar server. But then there was a wake-up moment. This song, these words, God was asking something of me. That's what I was left with. I realized at that moment that we don't come to church only to worship God, but we are here to receive power to then be sent into the world to do something with our lives, to make a difference in the world. I learned at that moment that there was a deep purpose to my life. There's a deep purpose to your life. And that God awakens that purpose within us. We don't awaken it on our own. We don't awaken it on our own power. God awakens. God invites. So many years later, because that song awakened something within me, I often wonder if that was the first time that God perhaps poked at my heart with this call to ministry. At 11 years old, to serve his church as a priest, just as God calls out to each one of you to be his follower in your own unique way. Today we will sing this song again after communion, the same song. And I hope that God speaks to you at this point in your life through that song, just as he did to me, awakening something in your life about how you might be called to serve. In today's gospel, Jesus begins his public ministry at the beginning of Matthew's gospel, and he does so by seeking out companion disciples. And he offers them a summons. Come, follow me. Jesus saw them fishing on the Sea of Galilee, casting out their nets onto the sea. Peter and his brother Andrew, James and his brother John, sons of Zebedee. And Jesus said, leave your nets behind. Come and follow me, and your life will never be the same. And their response was a total surrender, a total abandonment to the will of God. Here I am, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. What Jesus was teaching Andrew and Peter and James and John, and what Jesus is helping each one of us here today to understand, is exactly this. Life isn't about you. Life is about others. And it's about Jesus and the reign of God. There is nothing more that Jesus is asking of each one of you than total abandonment. Jesus doesn't want a piece of your heart. He wants all of your heart. Jesus doesn't want your leftovers, but he wants everything that you have to offer. Total surrender. We can't hold on and let go at the same time. Our humanity tells us something different. We want to control every aspect of our lives. We want to control our future. Frank Sinatra song, right? I did it my way. Rather than letting God define our destiny and our life. Total surrender, total abandonment, giving all that we have, giving it all to Jesus. My friends, in these traumatic times that we are now experiencing, and even government-sanctioned killings in the streets, Jesus is calling you, and Jesus is calling me as he called Andrew and Peter, James and John. I need you. I need all of you. I need you to be my light in the midst of so much darkness. Followers of Jesus stand for everything Jesus stands for. And Jesus stands with and for the immigrant, the refugee, the stranger, the oppressed, the powerless, the downtrodden. And if churches aren't preaching that message, I'm afraid it might not be a church, but a social club. This week, Reverend Faith introduced me and some others to a new friend of our parish. His name is Wilson, and he is an immigrant from Kenya. He's a kind and hard-working and loving person. He's a teacher and now has a job teaching in a local school, but can't get his check until he gets a temporary Social Security number. His wife and two beautiful daughters still live in Kenya. He has no winter clothes since he never knew that it would be this cold. He is currently living in a rooming house and trying to find a place to live. Reverend Faith and I were able to get him some clothes and a coat and some food. Claudia and Mary have offered to work to get him more clothes, and Martin and his sister Madeline came here to meet Wilson with Reverend Faith and myself and to listen to his story, to listen to what his life is all about. And as we were listening to that story, I could only feel the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of the living, moving, and breathing God working here and now. God at work in his church. God stirring in us just as he poked the hearts of Andrew, Peter, James, and John. God saying to us, follow me, do the right thing, do good through me, care for my people, feed my sheep. I heard God's voice saying, you are my voice in my hands and my heart. I live in you, and I work in you. At the end of the day, when our friend Faith came back into the office about 9 p.m., this young guy was so moved. They had gone shopping together. And he kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I kept saying, no, thank God. And I said to him, this is how God works. And this is how God moves through a community of people caring for you, the stranger. The stranger. It's people like Wilson that our government's telling us to hate and vilify. And all the people who buy into it. The cold and the angry hearts that are out there that are filled with so much hate. You can see it in the way they drive. You see angry people. I was driving yesterday in Swansea, and this elderly man in front of me pulled out, and he was going the normal speed limit and driving appropriately, and this big black truck pulls up behind him onto his bumper, trying to intimidate him, trying to exert control. And then I pulled out behind that truck because it was my turn to go, and I remember saying out loud, wow, what anger. I said a few other things too, but I can't say. right here, because it would not be appropriate. But the rage and the anger, and then I noticed all the bumper stickers on the back of the truck, and I said, now it all makes sense. The rageful, angry people who need Jesus in their lives. And what does the song say? Who shall I send? And he was in such a hurry. And do you know where he was going? Five Guys. He was going to Five Guys. You can't make this up. All this hatred, my friends, from the highest level gets pushed onto the immigrant. They are evil and bad. Hate them, build walls, divide them, separate them. They look different because their skin color is different. They are the enemy. Smash their windows, put them in jail, take their children. And yet, we met Wilson, a child of God, a human being, a son, a husband, a father, a teacher, someone who is deeply loved by God and someone who loves God deeply in return. My friends, I say all of this because when our hearts are discouraged and tired and weary by all that we see in the world, here is the good news today, spoken in the good news in this gospel. Jesus is calling, and he's calling over and over again. I need you, I need your heart, I need your life, I need your voice, I need your hands to stand for love. When we see all the darkness in the world, my friends, love always wins. And the way of Jesus is the way of love, lifting up the poor, liberating the oppressed, proclaiming good news to the poor. We will learn a little bit later of how we can help Wilson, but when we see darkness in the world, love wins. Love wins, goodness wins, kindness wins. Let's conquer the darkness wherever God places us with love. We'll post some more information this week on our Facebook page in the next couple of days and also send out an email. One practical thing that we can all do is once a week there's a vigil for love, and I'm recommitting to being there. It's more important now than ever. And we invite all of you to do that as well. Wednesday afternoons, we'll shoot an email out. For those of you on live stream, check our Facebook page. So today I hear the words of the song again. It's not 1982. But it's 2026, in case you didn't know that. The same song is speaking to me again. And the same song is speaking to us as a community. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. I will go, Lord. I will hold your people in my heart. Amen.